everybody, and welcome to The Park. I am your host, Paul Rodriguez, and this is my personal audio log recorded content. I just wanted to start off this episode with a little update on the project. I came into this project thinking that everything was going to be all fun, and to be honest, it really is, especially when things are going very well throughout the week, and me doing all the things that I do to contribute to this podcast. It has really been weighing a lot on my plate lately. So with that said, I am probably going to be skimming down on the content that I do produce, but it's still very much going to be my personal audio log, and I still want an episode to be out every week. But for me, honestly, it would be taking away from my studies and my service in the community, as well as my own personal health habits that I worked so hard to maintain recently. And, the more and more things that get added to my plate, I just want to be sure that I can take on everything to the best of my abilities and produce the best quality of what I want to produce. And I guess the stress has finally caught up to me, and I'm not complaining. I know what I have to do to keep up with this lifestyle that I have, and I really want to put in that 110% that I've always wanted to do. Like, there's no lack of inspiration right now, but rather the fact that my inspiration is going into my other creative outlets, such as my work in design and drafting, my service in the youth community as a graphic creator, and most of all, connecting with my friends and family, and especially reconnecting with old friends too. Like, I'd love for people to come on recently, but the timing just didn't work out recently for the guests. So I apologize mainly to myself for not living up to my own promise. But, enough of the pity party. This episode, kind of short again, sorry. But I really do want to talk about the resentment that I have internally. I did kind of touch on this in the pilot episode, and I think a lot of that resentment, it kind of stems from me growing up with my brothers, and they've always had it out for me, and they always made me do the crap that they should have been doing, like their chores. They didn't let me play video games with them, and beating me without even me doing anything, right? But honestly, it's all kind of expected. Like, boys will be boys, and it's all brotherly love, etc. But I remember vividly this one day. It came down to when it was supposed to be just like a nice Sunday with the family. To preface this story, my brothers, they were never very much the religious like the rest of the family, and I was young. I was very impressionable, and I decided to pull the trick that my brothers would always pull on my parents, and pretend to sleep so that I wouldn't have to go to church that day. And now, for all I know, that I guess they were probably actually sleeping in because they'd be playing World of Warcraft all night. I know, like, what a bunch of losers, right? But nah, I love them. But anyways, so that kind of made sense that they were sleeping in till the afternoon. But to me, in my head, I don't know how old I was. I was probably like 10 years old. So in like my 10-year-old head, like, I just want to be like them, play games all night and sleep in late and eat all day. And so there I was, pretending to sleep, and all of a sudden, I could hear my parents getting ready to go to church, and I was like, in my mind, I was like, yes, this is working. They're going to church without me. And all of a sudden, I could also hear a lot of yelling something along the lines of, like, why aren't all the kids up? And like, why are we not going to church as a family anymore? And like, also the fact that they had a suspicion that my brothers were allegedly not going to mass. I'm gonna say allegedly because my brother might whoop me if he finds out about me talking about this to the public. But like, my parents wouldn't trust that my brothers would take me to church later on that night, because like, while my parents would go in the morning, they would possibly be skipping church to go out to eat or watch a movie or something like that. Not saying that this all happened, but that's what they suspected. But anyways, my parents, they insisted that we all go as a family, which, yeah, I guess that's the proper way. Yeah, it is the proper way to go to church with your family. But, instead, I chose to sleep in, like my brothers, and my parents were just going off on them, blaming them for my actions because of how I was doing the same thing that they did. And I remember the exact moment where I messed up, where I knew I messed up, because my brother, he came into the room while I was pretending to sleep. He told me exactly, I know exactly what you're doing, and don't you ever try to do this again. Smacks me a couple times, like bam, bam, right? So, like, all the while, I'm just trying really damn hard to pretend that I'm sleeping. Yeah, I was that dumb, like, slap a kid a couple times and he doesn't wake up. Yeah, he's obviously trying to pretend to sleep. But anyways, safe to say, I probably didn't do that again. And I don't know, maybe a couple of times. I don't remember, but I think by the time, they just didn't even care anymore. And all I could remember was just feeling anger and resentment at the time towards him. And, my older brother mostly, because he's always the one that beats on me. But looking back at it and having only that memory of him after he moved out, well, I mean, there's obviously more memories that I have of him, but for the sake of this episode, I just want to share this idea that I have of my oldest brother, because despite the conflict that we'd have as kids, I looked up to him now as a person, as a friend, and as someone that I could trust. Growing older, I really enjoyed his company. Another fond memory that I have of him and myself was when we grabbed lunch at RPM this one time and sat down and talked about my future for a bit. And he expressed to me, not exactly regret of the feeling that he didn't do enough to make mom and dad happy. He wanted me to be the one that mom and dad were proud of. He told me that I was their last hope, considering that neither of my brothers pursued a post-secondary education and I was the only one going to university. Like, he was pushing me to become a stronger person, always. He wanted me to know that I needed to push myself hard enough as well, so that my parents' efforts in raising children were not in vain. And we went home and I reflected on that myself. That was a lot of pressure to put on an 18-year-old, because if I haven't already made them proud by the time I was 18, like, what else could I do? But now I see what my brother was always doing to push me to be better than myself, always and always. Those hits that I took from him were to make me harder and better and stronger, like Daft Punk. Harder, better, faster, stronger, as a man. And recently I've actually been reading this book called Be a Man by Father Larry, and this applies to all and isn't just exclusive to just being a Catholic man, but as a man, we are called to lay our lives down for others, to always sacrifice our time and efforts to better ourselves so that we can lift up others. And the first two people that came into my mind that fit that description were my dad and my older brother. Both really exceptional examples of the best role models in my life, despite their differing opinions of each other. And I think for me, I want to meet in the middle of that, to have the amazing faith, integrity, and strength of both of them combined. That's what I want for myself. And I think, without this introspective journey of self, I would have never realized it. And I think that's all I really have to say for tonight. Again, apologies for those expecting longer episodes, but as for now, I'll stick to the around 10-ish minute program on these solo episodes, at least, because it does take a lot of energy and time out of my regular week to record, edit, and publish. But I still enjoy telling a story, whatever it is that I want to share about, especially if I get more out of talking about it. I still really appreciate all of you that do listen, and I hope you understand. But anyways, tune in next week. Subscribe if you haven't already. You're not obligated to. And, it's entirely your choice. Have a good day, good night, wherever you are. And thank you all for visiting the park.